the heart of this nation, under skies so blue,
there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true.
from the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into something, well, pretty monumental, a new law, just on the books, and it's already stirring up a lot of conversation. We're talking about what's being called the One Big Beautiful Bill. Our mission here is simple: give you a concise understanding. We'll dissect the core details from the sources we have, explore its purpose, its provisions, and importantly, who's backing it, so you can walk away really well informed about what this bill is and, frankly, why it matters.
And it really has been quite a journey to get here. The sources we looked at describe it as a hellacious journey, even though it's being framed as President Trump's signature domestic achievement.
Yeah.
And getting it signed into law on such a symbolic day, well, that just adds another layer, doesn't it?
It really does. So the breaking news is official. The One Big Beautiful Bill, it's law, signed this past July 4th, 2025. Now, looking at the politics around it, the materials suggest that, well, more than a few Republicans were initially worried, concerned about deficit spending mainly. And interestingly, some apparently saw it mostly as an immigration thing, despite how broad it seems.
Yeah, the whole legislative process was definitely not straightforward. It went through as a reconciliation package, that procedural path for budget stuff, simple majority. But even so, it faced a really contentious amendment process. Lots of procedural drama, House and Senate. Reports are crediting Speaker Mike Johnson and Senator John Thune for basically keeping their slim majorities in line to push it through.
Right, holding it all together. And the signing itself happened, quite fittingly, at an Independence Day picnic at the White House. President Trump's immediate reaction, according to our sources, was pretty effusive. He said, "God bless the United States military and God bless the USA. Happy 4th of July. Their spirit in this country, we haven't seen anything like it in many, many years. And also, our country is more proud right now than it's been in many, many years." Strong words.
And they marked it with that B-2 bomber flyover in D.C. What's striking is one source explicitly connects those bombers to Operation Midnight Hammer. The operation said to have destroyed Iran's nuclear program. So that symbolism, linking a big domestic win to a major military one, it's quite powerful, really underscores the significance they attach to this bill.
That's a really interesting connection, framing it almost like a military-level victory for domestic policy. And our sources definitely show these contrasting views. On one side, the view that this bill is outstanding, it signals a new American golden age. That's stated. But the same source predicts Democrats would throw a tantrum. The media would melt down, spreading lies. It also mentions Trump calling out Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer directly for fear-mongering. So sharp contrasts. Okay, so given all that political heat and the big statements, let's really get into it. What exactly is this One Big Beautiful Bill trying to do?
Okay, so the formal details from the White House source. It's H.R. something. We don't have the exact number. Title is One Big Beautiful Bill Act, sponsored by Jody Arrington from Texas. And the summary line: make American families and workers thrive again. Pretty clear goal stated there.
And the main objectives we're seeing repeated in the sources are basically cuts taxes, kicks illegals off Medicaid, and secures the border. The materials also really emphasize that, well, you can argue that OBB was an immigration measure, highlighting things like limiting federal benefits based on status, plus the border enforcement piece.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting, digging into those specific tax cuts. First off, no tax on tips. That's huge for service workers. Also, no tax on overtime pay. So extra hours mean fully extra pay. And, this is a big one, no tax on Social Security benefits. Plus, a new deduction for interest on car loans, but only for vehicles made in America. That's clearly aimed at boosting U.S. auto manufacturing.
Wow. Okay. That's quite a list of direct changes. Really seems aimed at, putting money back in people's pockets directly. And the economic promises tied to this, they sound pretty grand, too. Things like being ready for a true economic boom. And the White House saying they're preparing your tax cuts. Very direct messaging.
Absolutely. And what's also fascinating is just how wide the industry support is, or at least the support they're claiming. That backed by American industry section in the White House source lists quite a few. For instance, the Job Creators Network. They're backing it to jumpstart the economy, their focus. Small business, making TCJA permanent, expanding it, increasing the small business tax deduction from 20 to 23%, restoring 100% immediate expensing.
Okay, so encouraging businesses to invest right away. Makes sense for that group.
Exactly. Then you've got the Business Roundtable. They liked the competitive pro-growth tax system, but also the border security parts and raising the debt ceiling, kind of a package deal for them. Switching gears, AXPC, that's the Independent Oil and Gas Producers Group, they're focused on unleashing American energy, repealing the Biden methane tax, opening up federal lands, cutting regulations.
Right, so support from big business and energy. What about the border security angle you mentioned earlier? That was a key objective.
Yeah, that's where Numbers USA comes in. Their support is all about border security provisions. They highlight funding for the wall, adding 10,000 ICE officers, more detention beds, big funding bumps for CBP, and implementing that tax on money sent out of the country by people described as illegal aliens, framing it as a deterrent.
Okay. And surprisingly, maybe even the airlines got involved.
They did. Airlines for America, or A4A. They support a pretty hefty investment, $12.5 billion for modernizing the FAA. Air traffic control systems, facilities. They specifically mentioned staffing shortages and needing to replace antiquated equipment. Get this, copper wires and floppy disks.
Floppy disks. Wow, okay. Yeah, modernization sounds needed there. Any other major players?
Definitely. The NFIB, the National Federation of Independent Business. They call it one of the most pro-small business pieces of tax legislation in recent history. High praise from them. CTIA, representing the wireless industry, pointed to spectrum and tax provisions they say will boost investment, jobs, and innovation. Keeping America's edge, they say. And even the NSSGA, National Stone, Sand, and Gravel Association, they like things like bonus depreciation, R&D tax credit, small business deductions, keeping corporate rates steady. Stuff important to their industry.
That is a really diverse group, from tech and energy to small shops and gravel suppliers. And beyond those specific groups, the sources list other broad benefits, right? Bringing jobs back, cutting red tape, infrastructure investment, protecting innovation, lower energy costs, more for small business, securing the border permanently, higher child tax credit, and slashing taxes on Social Security. It's a long list.
Yeah, and when you put all those endorsements and these listed benefits together, it lines up with that big ambition. The largest tax cut in history, higher wages, more take-home pay, and they even floated that savings by state map idea, suggesting a direct impact on, say, a family of 4, trying to make it tangible.
So, okay, what does this all mean for you listening? We've just done this deep dive into the one big beautiful bill. We've looked at its core parts, the tax cuts, the border stuff, and this really wide range of industries and groups that got behind it, all aimed, according to the sources, at this economic boom, this new American golden age.
Yeah, we've traced its difficult path through Congress, unpacked those tax and border specifics, and seen the broad coalition, energy, small business, tech, immigration control groups backing it. It's definitely a bill designed with, well, far-reaching goals across the board.
So here's something to think about. Given that huge scope, all those stated benefits, the promise of an economic boom, how can one single law really reshape so many different parts of the economy and society? And maybe more importantly, what are the long-term ripple effects going to be? Something to watch as this comprehensive bill starts to play out in the real world beyond the initial headlines.
Deep dive in the building. UK, what really good? Let's dive in. Get triggered. Netflix, you son of an itch. In your show Adolescence, you pulled a race switch. The real killer teen is black, you made him white. This ish just ain't right. We're diving deep into the heart of what we